All right, let's talk about something that affects pretty much everyone but can be ridiculously confusing: U.S. health insurance. We're going to cut through all the jargon, break down what those confusing terms actually mean, and show you how the whole system is supposed to work. Let's dive in.
So, if you've ever looked at your insurance options and felt like you're just staring at a bowl of alphabet soup, you are not alone. Trust me. But stick with us, because by the end of this, you're going to understand the crucial differences and finally know what you're looking at.
To really get a handle on any of these plans, you gotta understand one core concept that's behind almost all modern health insurance. It's called managed care. It's really the big idea that shapes all your options, and it was created to solve a massive problem.
And that problem? Yeah, it's something we're all way too familiar with: skyrocketing healthcare costs. As medical bills just kept going up and up, insurers had to find a way to get a handle on them. And their solution is the system we're about to break down right now.
So what in the world is managed care? Well, think of it less as a single thing and more like a whole toolkit of strategies. It's everything insurance companies do to, manage the cost of healthcare. The whole goal is just to make the system more predictable and hopefully more affordable.
So, how does it actually work? It's a pretty smart three-step process. First, the insurance company builds a network of specific doctors and hospitals. Then, and this is the key part, they go to that network and say, hey, we can bring you a ton of patients. And because they can promise that steady stream of people, yep, that's you, they get to negotiate lower, preset prices for everything. And finally, they manage how services are used, usually with things like referrals, just to make sure the care is necessary and efficient.
And boom, this is where we get right back to that alphabet soup. All those different plan types, HMO, PPO, you name it, they're just different flavors of that managed care strategy. They're simply different ways of designing and managing that network of doctors we were just talking about.
Now, here's the absolute key to this whole thing. When you're picking a plan, it all boils down to one fundamental trade-off. It's always about cost versus flexibility. Are you willing to trade some freedom of choice for a lower monthly bill? Or are you willing to pay a little more to see any doctor you want? Let's see how that plays out.
First up, we've got the HMO, the Health Maintenance Organization. And the name kind of gives it away, right? Your healthcare is maintained within a specific organization of doctors. With an HMO, you have to use the providers inside its network. If you go outside of it for care, you're probably paying for that entire bill all by yourself. Then you have the PPO, or Preferred Provider Organization. And the key word here is definitely preferred. This plan gives you a lot more flexibility. You've got a network of preferred doctors where your costs are the lowest, but the plan will still help pay if you decide to go outside that network. The catch? As you probably guessed, all that freedom usually comes with a higher price tag each month.
Okay, so let's just break this down side by side, because this chart makes that trade-off super clear. Look at the HMO column. You're stuck in-network only, and you usually need a primary care physician or a PCP to act as a gatekeeper and give you referrals to see specialists. But what's the payoff? Lower monthly premiums. Now, glance over at the PPO. You get flexibility to go in and out of network, and you usually don't need referrals. And the price you pay for all that convenience? Yep, higher premiums.
All right, enough with the theory, right? Let's look at a real-world example I guarantee you've heard of. The biggest player in the U.S. insurance game is, by far, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Understanding the Blues is a perfect way to see all these managed care ideas in action.
Ever wondered why there are two Blues, Blue Cross and Blue Shield? Well, it actually goes way back to how they started. Originally, Blue Cross was set up just to cover hospital bills, the cost of the room, the food, the facility itself. Blue Shield was created separately to cover the doctor's services, like surgery. These days, they're almost always bundled together, but that's where the two different names came from.
And this brings up a super important idea. The Blues work as what's called a service provider. And trust me, this is a huge deal. It means when you go to the doctor, you show your card and the insurance company pays the doctor directly for whatever's covered. You're not stuck paying some massive bill up front and then just hoping you get a reimbursement check in the mail weeks later. It's way more convenient.
So their whole model kind of puts all these pieces together. As a member or a subscriber, you pay a set, prepaid fee every month. In return, you get access to their huge network of doctors and hospitals who have already agreed on what they'll charge. And, while it can vary, most of these Blue Cross Blue Shield organizations historically operate as nonprofits.
Okay, so how does this all actually apply to you? Well, for most people in America, the way you even encounter an HMO or a PPO in the first place is through your job.
And this is just a critical piece of the puzzle for understanding the American system. The overwhelming majority of people get their health coverage not by going out and buying it themselves, but through a group plan that's offered by their employer.
The logic here is actually pretty simple, but it's really powerful. By insuring a whole group of people at once, some are young and healthy, some might need more care, the insurance company can spread out the financial risk. It's this risk pooling that generally makes group plans way more affordable than trying to buy one all on your own.
So, after all of that, what's the one thing you absolutely need to remember? It all comes back to this balance. Choosing a health plan, any health plan, is really just a personal negotiation between the freedom to choose your doctors and what you're willing to pay for that freedom.
And that really brings us to the final question, and this one's for you. Now that you get the basic trade-offs, you can look at your own options with a much clearer eye. So just ask yourself, what really matters most to you? Is it getting the lowest possible cost, having the maximum choice of doctors, or finding that perfect sweet spot right in the middle? Something to think about.